are you? Really, who are you? As simple as it seems, this question plunges us into a realm of complexity and mystery that has intrigued philosophers and psychologists for centuries. We're talking about the enigma of the self, an abstract concept that is as elusive as it is essential. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. You see your reflection, your physical appearance. But is that all there is to you? Is self merely a collection of physical attributes? Or does it delve deeper, encompassing our thoughts, emotions, memories, and experiences? Perhaps it's our self-awareness, the consciousness that allows us to contemplate these very questions, that truly defines us. The concept of identity also intertwines with the self. How much of our identity is an integral part of the self, and how much is influenced by external factors like society and culture? This question isn't as straightforward as it may seem, is it? Philosophers have been grappling with the concept of self for centuries. The notion of self, the I that we believe to exist at the core of our being, has been a subject of debate and speculation since the dawn of philosophical thought. Two fundamental theories have emerged over time, each attempting to grapple with this elusive concept. They are known as the bundle theory and the ego theory. The bundle theory, as put forward by David Hume, suggests that the self is nothing more than a collection of perceptions. In this view, there is no I or self that exists beyond the experiences we have. We are, in essence, a bundle of experiences that are constantly changing and evolving. Our identity, then, is not fixed but fluid, shifting with every new experience we have. On the other hand, the ego theory proposes a different perspective. Advocated by philosophers like René Descartes, this theory suggests that there is an I, or self, that remains constant and unchanging regardless of our experiences. This unchanging self is what we refer to when we use the word I. It is the core of our being, the essence of who we are. These two theories represent opposite ends of the spectrum, and many philosophers fall somewhere in between. Some suggest that there might be a core self that remains constant, but that this self is shaped and influenced by our experiences. Others propose that our self is a product of our actions and choices, not something that exists independently of them. These theories, while different, share a common aim: to understand the nature of our existence. They seek to answer the fundamental question of what it means to be a human being, to be I. So are we a collection of experiences, or an unchanging core self? This philosophical puzzle continues to perplex and fascinate us, pushing us to delve deeper into the enigma of self and identity. Let me tell you a tale about Phineas Gage, a railroad worker from the 19th century. Gage was no ordinary man. His life took an extraordinary turn one fateful day in September of 1848. As he was compacting a drilling hole with an iron rod, an accidental explosion sent the rod rocketing through his skull. Miraculously, Gage survived, but he was a changed man. The iron rod had pierced through Gage's left frontal lobe, a region of the brain now associated with personality, behavior, and decision-making. After the accident, those who knew him noted a striking shift in his demeanor. He became impulsive, irritable, and irresponsible, a marked departure from his previous character as a reliable and hard-working foreman. So what does this tell us about the self? Gage's story suggests that our identity, our self, might not be as fixed as we believe. It appears to be deeply entwined with our brain, susceptible to the changes our brain undergoes. If a single incident could so drastically alter Gage's personality, we're compelled to wonder, are we really the masters of our identity? Moreover, this tale raises questions about the continuity of self. Was the post-accident Gage the same person as the pre-accident Gage? His body remained the same, his memories were intact, but his behavior, his character, his very essence seemed to have transformed. Fascinatingly, Gage's story also challenges the concept of a singular, unchanging self. If Gage's self could be so drastically altered by a physical change in the brain, does it mean we all have multiple potential selves lurking within us, shaped and reshaped by the experiences we go through? Gage was no longer Gage after the accident, so does our identity solely reside in our brain? It's a question that continues to puzzle philosophers and neuroscientists alike, urging us to delve deeper into the enigma of the self. Psychologists, on the other hand, see the self from a different lens. Imagine your mind as a bustling city, with thoughts and feelings darting around like pedestrians on a busy street. In the midst of this commotion, the concept of self emerges like a skyscraper, towering over the hustle and bustle. This is what psychologists call the self concept, the mental image we have of ourselves shaped by our thoughts, feelings, and experiences. The self concept is an evolving entity, constantly reshaped by new experiences and insights. It's like a kaleidoscope, ever-changing, as the pieces of our experiences tumble and fall into new configurations. It encompasses our self-esteem, our beliefs about our capabilities, and our perceptions of our physical, emotional, and social selves. But it's not just our internal world that shapes our identity. Enter the social identity theory. This psychological theory posits that our identity is also shaped by our social interactions and the groups we associate with. We're social creatures after all. We tend to define ourselves in relation to others, whether it's our family, friends, colleagues, or the communities we belong to. Think about it. How often have you found your thoughts, feelings, or actions influenced by the groups you identify with? Do you feel a surge of pride when your favorite sports team wins? Do you feel a sense of belonging when you meet people who share your interests or values? That's the social identity theory at work. So, in the grand puzzle of self and identity, the pieces are not just the thoughts and feelings buzzing around in our minds, but also the people and groups that populate our social world. It's a complex interplay of internal and external factors, a dance between the individual and the collective. In essence, the psychological view suggests that our self is not an isolated entity, but a dynamic and evolving construct, shaped and reshaped by our internal landscape and our social interactions. Our identity, it seems, is a complex interplay of internal and external factors. But what about the continuity of self? Are we the same person we were a decade ago? As we navigate the labyrinth of existence, the concept of the continuity of self emerges. It's a fascinating study of how our identity evolves with our experiences, yet we still perceive ourselves as the same person. This is the paradox of personal identity, a riddle as old as consciousness itself. Consider yourself 10 years ago. There were different thoughts, different dreams, different fears. You were a different person, yet you were still you. This is the continuity of self, a thread of consciousness that weaves through the tapestry of our lives, connecting all our past selves to the person we are today. The continuity of self is a journey, not a destination. It is the river of consciousness that flows through the landscape of our lives, ever-changing, yet always the same river. It is the symphony of our existence, where each note is a moment, each movement a chapter of our lives. And while the symphony evolves, the melody remains the same. That melody is the continuity of self. But what fuels this continuity? It is our memories, our experiences, our relationships. They shape our identity, mold our self-concept, and give us a sense of personal continuity. They are the brushstrokes on the canvas of our lives, painting a picture of who we are and who we've been. Yet the continuity of self is not a static concept. It's a dynamic process that evolves with us. Just as a river changes its course, so does our sense of self, adapting to new experiences, learning from past mistakes, growing with each passing moment. We change, we grow, we evolve, but our sense of self remains. It's the anchor in the storm of change, the constant in the equation of existence. Our bodies age, our thoughts evolve, our roles change, but we remain ourselves, a testament to the continuity of self. So, are we the same person we were a decade ago? In many ways, yes, and in many ways, no. We are an orchestra of experiences, a symphony of selves, a river of consciousness. Our sense of self persists despite the constant flux of life. So, who are we really? That's the question we've been exploring throughout this journey. We've delved into the enigma of the self, looked at it through the lens of philosophy and psychology, and even considered the fascinating case of Phineas Gage. We've seen that the concept of self and identity is a profound mystery. It's not a static entity, but a dynamic, ever-changing phenomenon. We've learned that our self-perception and ego can be as fluid as water, shifting and evolving with time, experience, and circumstance. Yet there's a continuity, a persistent thread that runs through our existence, tying our past, present, and future selves together. This thread is what gives us a sense of personal identity, a feeling of being the same person over time. In this complexity and fluidity, we find the beauty and intrigue of the self. Perhaps we are a captivating puzzle, ever evolving yet eternally ourselves.